Your soulmate urgently needs to talk to you right now because something important just happened. Don't scroll. Pause for a moment and really listen to this, because this message is for you and your heart needs this right now. Something has just shifted in the unseen space between you and the person who carries this deep connection with your soul, and even if you cannot see it yet in the physical world, the emotional and spiritual energy surrounding this bond has changed dramatically. Somewhere, right now, the person who is spiritually tied to your journey is sitting with a realization that arrived suddenly and unexpectedly. It didn't come gently or slowly. It came like a moment of awakening that interrupted their normal routine and forced them to stop and think about you in a way they haven't allowed themselves to before. One minute they were moving through their day just like any other, distracted with work, conversations, responsibilities, or the ordinary noise of life. And the next minute something happened that brought your memory directly into the center of their mind. It could have been something small but meaningful, like hearing a song that reminded them of a moment you shared, passing by a place connected to a memory with you, or even seeing someone else's situation that suddenly made them reflect on what the connection between you truly meant. But sometimes these awakenings come from deeper moments too, like a conversation that opened their eyes, a realization about their own life path, or a quiet moment where their thoughts finally slowed down enough for the truth to rise to the surface. Whatever the trigger was, it created a powerful emotional shift inside them, and now the one thing they cannot stop thinking about is the need to talk to you. Not casually. Not someday in the distant future. Right now. Because when a realization of this kind arrives, silence suddenly feels heavier than honesty. The strange thing about soulmate connections is that they don't follow normal timing or predictable patterns. They move in cycles of awareness where sometimes one person understands the depth of the bond before the other does. There may have been times in the past when your connection felt intense yet confusing, moments when emotions were present but words were missing, moments when timing seemed slightly off or when fear, pride, or uncertainty kept certain truths hidden beneath the surface. But what is happening right now is different, because the person connected to you is beginning to see the connection from a completely new perspective. They are replaying memories they once brushed aside, noticing details they overlooked before, remembering the way conversations with you carried depth that felt different from any other interaction in their life. They are thinking about the calm they felt around you, the way you understood them without needing long explanations, the way your presence made ordinary moments feel more meaningful. These thoughts are not passing through their mind casually. They are lingering, repeating, growing stronger with every moment. And when that happens in a soulmate connection, it usually means that a deeper emotional truth is finally being recognized. You may even feel the ripple of this realization before any message or conversation appears in your life. That's because bonds like this often communicate energetically long before words are spoken. Maybe today you noticed their names suddenly entering your mind for no clear reason, or you caught yourself wondering what they were doing even though you hadn't thought about them earlier in the day. Maybe you felt a strange emotional pull, a quiet feeling in your chest that made you pause for a moment without knowing why. Sometimes people even notice synchronicities during moments like this. Repeated numbers like 111, 222, or 444 appearing in unexpected places, songs playing at just the right moment, or memories resurfacing out of nowhere. These are subtle ways the universe sometimes mirrors the emotional shifts happening between two connected souls. Meanwhile, The person who shares this bond with you is trying to understand why this realization feels so urgent. They may be sitting quietly, thinking about how much time has passed, wondering whether they should reach out, wondering how you might respond if they suddenly appeared again with honesty in their voice. They may feel nervous about being vulnerable, because expressing the truth of what they feel means stepping outside the comfort of silence. But at the same time, the thought of saying nothing feels even heavier now. That is the moment when people realize that a conversation they once avoided has become necessary. They are beginning to see that whatever happened today, whatever moment or realization triggered this shift, has made them understand something important about the role you play in their life story. You are not just a memory to them. You are not just someone who passed through their world briefly. You are connected to their emotional growth, to their understanding of themselves, to the path they are walking. And that recognition carries weight. It makes them want to speak, to explain, to understand whether the connection you share still holds the same meaning for you that it now holds for them. That is why the urge to talk to you feels so strong right now. It is not coming from impulse or curiosity alone. It is coming from the realization that some connections are too important to remain unfinished or misunderstood. The universe has a way of bringing people back to conversations that matter when the time is right, and right now the person tied to your journey is standing at the edge of that moment, feeling the pull to reach out and open the door to a conversation that could change the direction of what comes next. Don't scroll. Stay with this message for a moment because this is meant for you, and your heart may need to hear it right now more than you realize. After that sudden realization struck them earlier, the person connected to you didn't simply return to their routine and forget about it. Instead, the awareness kept unfolding inside them like a quiet chain reaction that they could not easily stop. What began as a single thought about you quickly expanded into a flood of memories and reflections that felt far more vivid than they had in a long time. Moments that once seemed small or ordinary suddenly started appearing in their mind with surprising clarity: the way you spoke during meaningful conversations, the way you listened without judgment, the calm presence you carried even when life around them felt overwhelming. These memories are not just passing through their thoughts casually. They are lingering, replaying, growing stronger, and each one is carrying a message they didn't fully understand before. At first they tried to dismiss it, telling themselves it was just nostalgia or a coincidence triggered by something they saw or heard during the day, but the more they tried to push it away, the more persistent the thought of you became. It followed them through different moments of the day. While they were working, while they were talking to someone else, even while they were trying to focus on something unrelated. Every time they tried to move on from the thought, it returned quietly, reminding them that the connection they once shared with you still exists somewhere within their emotional world. When this kind of realization happens, people often go through a stage of internal questioning, and that is exactly where they are right now. They are asking themselves why you remain present in their thoughts when so many other experiences from the past have faded with time. They are wondering why conversations with you still stand out so clearly compared to other interactions in their life. They are reflecting on the way you understood certain parts of them that others rarely noticed. These questions are not casual curiosity. They come from the deeper understanding that something about your presence in their life had meaning beyond what they recognized before. As they sit with these thoughts, they are starting to realize that the bond you shared with them was not simply a brief chapter in their story but a connection that influenced how they see themselves and how they understand emotional closeness. That realization can feel overwhelming because it challenges the way they once interpreted the past. They may be thinking about things they wish they had said, conversations they wish they had continued, or moments where they now see the connection more clearly than they did at the time. The more they reflect, the more they feel the urge to speak with you. It's not just curiosity, it's the sense that there is something important left unsaid between you. But alongside that urge comes hesitation. Reaching out after time has passed requires courage, and people often pause at that point because vulnerability can feel intimidating. They might be wondering how you would react if they suddenly appeared again in your life. They might be questioning whether you would welcome a conversation or whether too much time has gone by. Yet despite those doubts, the thought of talking to you keeps returning. That's because once someone begins to understand the emotional significance of a connection, silence starts to feel heavier than honesty. They are beginning to realize that if they continue ignoring the thought, it will remain unresolved in their mind. At the same time, something subtle may be happening within your own awareness. Sometimes when someone connected to us emotionally experiences a moment of clarity, the energy of that realization creates a ripple that the other person can sense in quiet ways. It might appear as a sudden memory of them appearing in your mind for no clear reason, or a brief moment where you wonder how they are doing even though you were not thinking about them earlier. These small shifts are often how intuition responds to emotional movement happening beyond our immediate surroundings. Meanwhile, the person connected to you is still sitting with their thoughts, trying to decide what to do next. They are imagining how the conversation might begin, thinking about the words they might use to explain what they have realized, wondering whether you might feel the same sense of importance about the connection that they are now recognizing. Moments like this rarely stay internal forever because understanding naturally pushes people toward expression. When someone reaches the point where clarity replaces confusion, the next step is usually communication. Right now they are standing very close to that moment, feeling the pull to reach out and open the door to a conversation that could finally bring honesty to a connection that has remained unfinished in their heart. Don't scroll. Stay with this message for a moment because something important is unfolding and your heart may sense it even before your mind fully understands it. The person deeply connected to you has entered a phase of reflection that is no longer casual or temporary. It has become intense, personal, and impossible for them to ignore. After the realization that shook their awareness earlier, their mind has been moving through memories and emotions almost like a quiet storm that keeps building strength. At first they thought it was just a passing reminder of the past, something triggered by a small moment in their day, but the more time passes the more they realize that what they are feeling is not nostalgia at all. It is clarity. Memories of you are resurfacing with a vividness that feels almost present, as if the moments you shared were not distant events but something still alive inside their emotional world. They are remembering the tone of your voice during meaningful conversations, the way you listened with patience and understanding, and the way certain moments with you carried a calm sincerity that felt rare compared to other relationships they have experienced. As these memories replay in their mind, they are beginning to see them differently than they did before. At the time those experiences happened, they may not have fully understood the emotional depth of the connection between you. They might have been distracted by other responsibilities, personal struggles, or even uncertainty about their own feelings. But now that enough time has passed for them to reflect honestly, the significance of those moments is becoming clearer with every thought they revisit. They are starting to recognize that your presence in their life influenced them in ways they did not fully appreciate before. You may have challenged them to see themselves differently, helped them grow emotionally, or provided a level of understanding that they rarely found anywhere else. Realizing this now feels almost overwhelming for them, because it changes how they view the connection you shared. Instead of seeing it as a brief experience that belonged to the past, they are beginning to see it as something meaningful that still carries emotional weight in their present life. That recognition is powerful because once a person becomes aware of the true value of a connection, it becomes difficult to ignore it again. This is why the thought of you keeps returning to their mind throughout the day. They may be working, talking to other people, or focusing on daily responsibilities, but suddenly a memory of you appears again, interrupting their attention and bringing them back to the same realization. Each time this happens, the urge to talk to you grows stronger. They begin asking themselves questions they cannot easily answer alone. They wonder how you are doing now, what direction your life has taken, and whether you still think about the connection you once shared with them. They question whether the bond they now recognize was something you sensed as well, or whether it existed only in their own understanding. These questions create a quiet tension inside them, because curiosity alone can often fade with time, but emotional clarity usually demands action. The more they think about reaching out to you, the more they become aware of the vulnerability involved in doing so. Contacting someone after time has passed requires courage, especially when the conversation might reveal emotions that were never expressed before. They may be wondering how you would respond if they suddenly appeared again in your life. They might worry that you have already moved forward or that their message might feel unexpected. At the same time, another thought keeps appearing in their mind, one that is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. If they remain silent now, they may always wonder what could have happened if they had simply spoken honestly. That thought alone has a powerful influence on people, because the possibility of regret often becomes stronger than the fear of vulnerability. While all of this is unfolding inside them, something subtle may also be happening within you. When two people share a deep emotional connection, shifts in awareness on one side sometimes create an invisible ripple that the other person can feel in quiet ways. You might notice yourself thinking about them unexpectedly, even if they had not crossed your mind for a long time. A memory of them might appear while you are doing something completely unrelated, or you might suddenly wonder how they are doing without knowing why. These moments often feel small and easy to dismiss, but they are sometimes reflections of emotional movement happening somewhere beyond your immediate awareness. Meanwhile, the person connected to you is still sitting with their thoughts, slowly moving from reflection toward the possibility of action. They are imagining how the conversation might begin, thinking about what they would say if they finally decided to reach out, and wondering whether speaking to you might help them understand the connection more clearly. The idea of hearing your voice again or exchanging even a simple message carries both excitement and nervousness for them. That mixture of emotions is common when someone approaches a moment of honesty after a long period of silence. What matters most right now is that the realization has already happened. They are no longer ignoring the connection or dismissing the memories that once felt easier to leave behind. Instead, they are acknowledging that the bond between you had real meaning in their life, and that understanding it fully may require a conversation they once avoided. Moments like this rarely remain internal forever. When someone reaches the point where reflection turns into clarity, the next natural step is communication, and right now they are standing very close to that moment, feeling the growing pull toward honesty, toward explanation, and toward the possibility of speaking with you again about something that suddenly feels far more important than they once believed. Don't scroll. Stay with this message for a moment because something deeper is still unfolding, and even if you cannot see it yet in the physical world, the emotional movement behind the scenes is becoming stronger with every passing moment. After everything that began earlier, the sudden realization, the memories resurfacing, the awareness that the connection with you never truly disappeared. The person connected to you is now entering another phase of understanding, and this stage is even more powerful than the first. Reflection has slowly turned into acceptance. At first they were simply remembering you, replaying moments in their mind and wondering why those memories felt so vivid, but now they are beginning to accept that those memories are not random. They are meaningful signals pointing towards something they had not fully acknowledged before. When people reach this stage of awareness, they start looking at the connection itself instead of just the memories. They begin asking deeper questions about what the bond actually meant and why it still carries emotional weight after time has passed. This is exactly what is happening inside them now. They are beginning to understand that the connection between you was not just about shared moments or pleasant memories, it was about recognition. Recognition of someone who understood them on a level that felt rare, someone who saw parts of their personality that they often kept hidden from others. As they think about this more deeply, they are realizing that interactions with other people have rarely felt the same since you left their immediate world. They might have continued with life, met new individuals, experienced different situations, but something about the connection you shared always remained unique in their memory, and now that realization feels undeniable. This kind of awareness often arrives gradually but becomes powerful once it settles in, and they are starting to see that certain conversations with you shaped the way they think about relationships and emotional honesty. They remember the way you encouraged them to speak openly about things they usually kept to themselves, the way you noticed small details about them that other people ignored, and the way your presence created a sense of calm that felt different from anything they had experienced before. As these reflections deepen, the idea of talking to you begins to feel less like an impulse and more like something necessary, because they are realizing that some questions about the connection cannot be answered through memories alone. They want to hear your perspective, to understand whether the bond they now recognize was something you felt as well. At the same time, hesitation still exists, because reaching out after time has passed requires courage and vulnerability. They may be wondering how you would react if they suddenly appeared in your life again, or whether you would even want to reopen a conversation that once carried so much emotional weight. Yet despite these doubts, the urge to talk to you keeps returning. They are beginning to understand that silence will not bring them clarity, and that honesty, no matter how uncertain the outcome may feel, is the only way to truly understand what this connection means now. While all of this is unfolding inside them, something subtle might also be happening within you. You may find yourself thinking about them unexpectedly, remembering small details from the past or wondering how they are doing even when you were not thinking about them earlier. These moments may feel random, but they often appear when emotional awareness begins to move between two people who once shared a meaningful bond. Meanwhile, the person connected to you continues to sit with their thoughts, imagining how a conversation might begin, wondering what they would say if they reached out, and slowly realizing that the only way to understand the significance of the connection is to finally speak about it honestly. They are no longer ignoring the memories or dismissing the importance of what you shared. Instead, they are recognizing that certain connections remain meaningful even after time passes, and that understanding those connections sometimes requires the courage to return to a conversation that once remained unfinished. Don't scroll. Stay here for a moment, because what is unfolding right now goes even deeper than the thoughts and memories that have already been circling through their mind. After sitting with these realizations for hours, maybe even days, the person connected to you is beginning to experience something that feels almost impossible to ignore. The memories were the beginning, the reflection was the middle, but now something more emotional is taking shape inside them. They are no longer just thinking about the connection, they are feeling it again. When someone revisits memories long enough with honesty, emotions that once seemed distant begin to return with surprising strength. That is exactly what is happening to them now. They are remembering not only what you said or what you did, but how they felt in your presence. The sense of comfort, the feeling of being understood, the quiet excitement that existed during conversations that seemed to last longer than expected. Those emotions are resurfacing with a clarity they did not anticipate. For a long time they may have believed that those feelings belonged to the past and had naturally faded with time, but now they are realizing that the emotional imprint you left on their life never truly disappeared. It simply remained quiet until the right moment of awareness arrived. This realization can be overwhelming because it changes how they see everything that happened between you. Moments they once thought were ordinary now appear meaningful. Words that once seemed casual now feel important. Even small interactions carry new weight when they replay them in their mind. The more they reflect on these details, the more they recognize that the connection with you carried something deeper than they originally allowed themselves to admit. It was not just about shared time or friendly conversation. It was about emotional recognition, the kind that happens when two people understand each other without needing long explanations. That kind of connection is rare, and once someone realizes they experienced it, they cannot easily forget it. As this awareness grows stronger inside them, another thought keeps returning again and again: they need to talk to you. Not because they expect anything dramatic to happen immediately, but because silence no longer feels comfortable now that they understand the significance of the bond. They are starting to feel that certain truths deserve to be spoken rather than kept hidden inside their thoughts. At the same time, the idea of reaching out still carries uncertainty. They may be wondering whether you would welcome hearing from them or whether too much time has passed for the connection to still matter in your world. They might worry about interrupting the life you have built since the last time you spoke. But despite those questions, the desire to communicate continues to grow. When someone finally understands the importance of a connection, the possibility of regret becomes stronger than the fear of vulnerability. They are beginning to realize that not speaking to you might leave them wondering forever what could have happened if they had simply been honest. Meanwhile, something subtle might also be shifting within your own awareness. You may notice small reminders of them appearing unexpectedly in your day, perhaps a memory that surfaces while you are doing something ordinary or a brief thought about them that seems to come from nowhere. These moments often feel easy to dismiss, yet they sometimes reflect the quiet emotional movement happening within connections that once carried depth. While you continue living your life, the person connected to you is slowly moving closer to a decision. They are imagining what the first message might look like, how they might explain the realization they experienced, and how it might feel to finally reopen a conversation that once ended without full understanding. The idea of hearing your voice again or exchanging even a few honest words feels both exciting and nerve-wracking to them. But one thing has already changed inside their mind: they can no longer pretend that the connection meant nothing. They now see it clearly as something that shaped their emotional world, something that taught them about understanding, presence, and authenticity. And because they see it clearly now, the thought of talking to you feels less like a choice and more like something their heart is quietly guiding them toward, a step that could bring clarity to feelings that have remained unspoken for far too long. Don't scroll. Stay with this message because something important is still unfolding behind the scenes, and the energy around this connection is slowly moving toward a moment that neither of you fully expected. After everything they have been experiencing, the sudden memories, the emotional realization, the acceptance that the connection with you meant far more than they once understood, the person connected to you is now reaching a stage where reflection is turning into intention. For a while they were simply thinking about you, remembering the past and trying to understand why those memories returned so strongly. But now the idea of actually speaking to you is no longer just a passing thought drifting through their mind. It is becoming something they feel they need to do. The more they sit quietly with their emotions, the more they realize that certain connections cannot remain unfinished forever. When someone carries unspoken feelings or unanswered questions long enough, those emotions begin to create a quiet pressure inside them. That is exactly what they are feeling right now. It is not loud or dramatic, but it is persistent. Every time they try to focus on something else, the thought returns with the same gentle reminder that there is something important they need to say to you. They are beginning to imagine how that moment might happen, picturing what it would feel like to open a message, type your name, and finally begin a conversation that has remained silent for so long. Sometimes they imagine starting slowly, perhaps with a simple greeting, giving the conversation space to unfold naturally. Other times they imagine being honest right away, explaining that something recently made them reflect deeply on the connection you once shared and that they felt the need to speak with you again. These thoughts repeat in their mind as they search for the courage to take that first step. At the same time, vulnerability still exists, because reaching out after time has passed requires openness that many people find difficult. It means admitting that the connection with you still matters to them in ways they did not fully understand before. They may wonder whether you would welcome hearing from them or whether your life has moved forward in a way that makes their presence feel unexpected. They might question whether reopening a conversation from the past is the right thing to do. Yet despite these doubts, the feeling that they need to speak with you continues to grow stronger. Another thought is becoming clear to them as well: if they stay silent now, they may always wonder what could have happened if they had simply been honest. That possibility of regret often becomes more powerful than the fear of vulnerability, and it is slowly guiding them toward action. Meanwhile, something subtle may also be happening within your own awareness. Sometimes when someone connected to us emotionally reaches a moment of decision, the energy of that realization creates a quiet ripple that the other person can sense. You might find yourself thinking about them unexpectedly or remembering moments from the past that once felt meaningful. These thoughts may seem random, but they often appear when emotional movement is happening on the other side of a connection. As time passes, the person connected to you is moving closer to the moment where reflection becomes communication. They are no longer ignoring the connection or pretending that it belonged only to the past. Instead, they are recognizing that it had a genuine impact on their life and that understanding it fully may require a conversation they once avoided. The idea of hearing from you again or exchanging even a few honest words feels both exciting and uncertain to them, but one thing has become clear in their mind: the bond you shared was real, and silence can no longer hide the truth they have finally begun to understand. Don't scroll. Stay with this message for a moment, because something meaningful is reaching its final stage, and even if nothing visible has happened yet, the emotional movement around this connection is stronger now than it has been before. The person connected to you has moved beyond simple memories and reflection. They are now experiencing a deep understanding of what the connection with you truly meant in their life. At first, the thoughts about you arrived quietly, appearing as small memories or brief moments of reflection, but as time passed, those thoughts became clearer and more powerful. They began remembering not only the moments you shared but the emotions that existed in those moments, the sense of understanding, the calm that came naturally during your conversations, and the feeling that you saw parts of them that others rarely noticed. These memories are no longer appearing as distant events from the past. They feel alive again, carrying emotions that they once overlooked or did not fully understand at the time. What surprises them most is the realization that the connection with you shaped the way they see emotional closeness and honesty. They are beginning to see that certain conversations with you helped them understand themselves better, and that the bond you shared carried a depth they had not fully recognized while it was happening. Sometimes people only realize the importance of a connection after they have had enough distance to look back honestly at what they experienced. That distance allows them to see patterns and emotions more clearly, and that clarity is exactly what they are feeling now. As they sit with these realizations, one thought continues returning to their mind: they need to talk to you. It is no longer just curiosity or nostalgia. It feels like an honest step they need to take in order to understand what the connection means now. They are realizing that leaving certain things unsaid might create a question that follows them for years. When people reach this stage of awareness, silence begins to feel heavier than honesty. At the same time, they know that reaching out carries uncertainty. They do not know how your life has changed or what experiences you have had since the last time you spoke. They may wonder whether hearing from them would feel surprising or welcome. Yet despite these questions, the desire to speak honestly keeps growing stronger. They imagine what the first message might look like, perhaps something simple that opens the door to conversation, or perhaps something more direct where they explain that something recently made them reflect on the connection you once shared. These thoughts appear repeatedly in their mind as they gather the courage to act. Meanwhile, something subtle might also be happening within your own awareness. You might notice small reminders of them appearing unexpectedly, a memory that surfaces while you are doing something ordinary, or a moment where you suddenly wonder how they are doing. These experiences may feel random, yet they often occur when emotional awareness begins moving within a connection that once carried depth. The person thinking about you is slowly moving from reflection toward decision, recognizing that some connections deserve honesty rather than silence. They are beginning to understand that the bond you shared played an important role in their emotional growth, and that speaking with you again might finally bring clarity to feelings that have remained unspoken for far too long.